Alright, what's up, Zone Squad? Today we're solving rational expressions. Now there's an equal sign. Your first step is to factor the denominator. Factor all your denominators separately. Your second step, once you factor them, you want to figure out what is my least common denominator. By looking at those factors, what is my least common denominator? Once you know that, you need to multiply everything by the least common denominator. I'm going to say LCD. Least common denominator. The reason why we do that is because if you multiply everything by the least common denominator of the whole problem, things will cancel out. The denominator will all go away, which makes the problem a lot easier. And then the fourth step is to cancel and solve for x. Last step I would say is check for extraneous solutions. And if you don't want to worry about this, just always check your answer. The most important part I always tell my kids is that anytime that in Algebra 1 or Geometry Algebra 2 or in Math, if they say solve, that should be a good thing, because when you solve, you get an answer. You can always check your answers. So you always go back, plug in your answer, and see if your answer is correct or not. The left side should always equal the right side. That's the beauty about equal signs. That just means the left is balanced with the right. So then the left side should equal the right side based on what your value of x is. All right, so make sure you always check your answers. We'll talk about where your extraneous solutions are going to occur. So let's try a couple examples and see where you guys are going with that. So let's see how much you guys know. So first example, 1/2 plus 1 over x equals 1 over 4. So your first step was factor the denominator. Obviously we can't factor this. Your second step was, what is my least common denominator? So 2x and 4, what is my common denominator? So it's actually going to be 4x. 2 and 4, my least common denominator is 4, and I also need this x there. So it's 4x. Step 3 was distribute to each value. So if we distribute, we get 4x over 2 plus 4x over x equals 4x over 4. You know that you use the correct least common denominator. If your denominator goes away, things should cancel out. So right here, 4 and 2 cancels out, so you get 2 there. The x's cancel out there, and the 4's cancel out there. So you're left with 2x plus 4 equals x. So as you can tell, this problem, 1/2 plus 1 over x equals 1/4, if you rearrange it by multiplying everything 4 times greater, then you actually get this equation here. So how much easier is this equation here than that equation to solve? A lot easier. So you can subtract 2x and divide by -1. So x is going to be -4. Alright. The last step was to check your answers. We could plug it here, combine them, add them up, and they should, 1/4 should equal 1/4. Alright. So check your answers once again. Factor, find my least common denominator, distribute it, things will cancel out, and then solve. And then check your answers at the end. Alright. Good job. So that's concludes our lesson with solving rational expressions. We're going to do 3 examples, beginner, intermediate, advanced, and they will help you, guide you, and get you guys ready and to master these standards. Alright, so let's try these 3 examples. This is your first one, your basic. 1 over 3x plus 2 over x equals 1/6. We don't have to factor there, so we skip that step. Find me the least common denominator. Multiply to each one, distribute it, and then solve. I'm gonna give you about 30 seconds to a minute. They do take a while, so take your time, and then we'll go on from there. Go. All right, so let's try this. We don't have to factor like I already told you. What's my least common denominator? 3 and 6 is gonna be 6, and I need the x. I'm gonna distribute to each one. So you have 6x over 3x. Distribute here, you have 6 times 2, 12x over x. Distribute there, you have 6x over 6. If we did this correctly, we should not have a denominator after everything cancels out. So let's try that. So this x cancels with that x, this 6 and 3 becomes 2. This x cancels with that x, this 6 cancels with that 6. So you're left with what? 2 plus 12 equals x. So as you can tell, this problem becomes a lot easier to work with. So you have 14 equals x. Check your answers. See where your mistakes were. Was your LCD correct? That's the important part right now. If this is incorrect, then everything else will be incorrect. And then check, did everything cancel out supposed to? All right, good job. Let's get ready for an intermediate problem. All right, let's go one step more difficult. Let's try our intermediate. Let's say I gave you this problem. Okay, I want you to factor. Your trick is, your hint is, factor here. It's difference of 2 squares. Factor that, find my least common denominator, multiply everything by that, and then solve for x. I'm gonna give you about a minute for this one. This one takes a little bit longer. Try your best, get somewhere, and we can figure out how to improve from there. All right, go. All right, let's take a look. So that stays the same. That stays the same. Here, it's difference of 2 squares, so it's x plus 1, x minus 1. You guys need to have a great understanding of factoring. What is my least common denominator of x plus 1, x minus 1, and x plus 1, x minus 1? It's x plus 1, x minus 1. So here I'm going to multiply x plus 1, x minus 1. Let's distribute to each one. If I distribute it here, we're going to try this in our heads. If I distribute here, what cancels out? Those guys cancel out. So then you're left with 2x minus 1. Over here, if I distribute these guys here, what cancels out? The x minus 1s cancel out. So what's left? That x plus 1 with the 3. And what happens if I take this guy and distribute it here? What cancels out? Everything cancels out, so you're left with 1. Let's distribute. So you have 2x minus 2 minus 3x minus 3 equals 1. Let's combine like terms. So 2x minus 3x is negative 1x. Negative 2 minus negative 3 is negative 5. So we're solving for x, so let's add 5. We have negative x equals 6. Divide by negative 1. X equals negative 6. So my answer is x equals negative 6. We have to check to see if there's extraneous solutions. How do we do that? You do that by looking, all you have to do is look at the denominator and make sure your answer, when you plug it in, does not give us what? 0. Denominator can never be 0, so our answer should not force it to become 0. So you don't have to worry about the numerator, just all you have to do is worry about the denominator. To check your work, make sure your LCD was x plus 1, x minus 1, and you distribute it correctly with the negative. Be careful with the negative. And let's move on to our advanced problem. Good job. All right, we made it. Our advanced problem. It is going to be a tough problem. Let's try this together. We'll get through to this. Let's try this. X minus 1 over x plus 3 plus x over x minus 4. We don't have to factor because it's all done for us. Just multiply by the LCD and then distribute. It's going to be quadratic, so we're actually going to get more than one answer. And then I want you to check your answer, see if there's any extraneous ones. I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to a minute. Try your best. Get somewhere. If you get stuck, it's fine. We'll figure it out from there. All right, go. All right, so what is my LCD? My LCD is, I'm going to write on this side, x plus 3, x minus 4. We need x plus 3. We also need this x minus 4. So if I distribute here, what cancels out? The x minus 4's cancel out, so you're left with x times x plus 3. Just cancel out with that. If I distribute this here, x plus 3 cancels out, so you're left with x minus 1 and x minus 4. And if you distribute here, what cancels out? X plus 3 cancels out, so you're stuck with negative 4 times x minus 4. Lots of foiling to do. Take it slowly. It's better to do it the first time correctly than making mistakes. So let's do all the distribution right now. So negative 4x plus 16 equals, FOIL here, x squared minus 4x minus 1x plus 4. And then distribute here, you have plus x squared plus 3x. So you have negative 4x plus 16. Here, let's combine like terms. There, you have 2x squared. And you have what? Negative 5x there, plus the 3x there, plus the 4. So you have 2x squared minus 2x plus 4. And you have negative 4x plus 16 there. I'm just keep continually simplifying this. I'm going to subtract 16. And I'm going to add 4x. This becomes 0. And you get plus 2x minus 12. So your goal with every time with quadratics when we're solving is to get it equal to 0. And then use whatever strategy is needed. You could factor it if it's factorable, quadratic formula, you complete the squared, lots of different ways. So here I'm going to just try to factor this out. I take out GCF, which is 2. So I divide everything by that, and I try to factor this, in which factors of 6 that adds up to 1, 3, 2, plus minus. So we factored it. Your last step is to set each of the factors equal to 0 using the zero product property. So you have x equals negative 3, x equals positive 2. Those are my two answers, but I need to check to see, does any of these make the answer undefined in the denominator? In other words, does it make the denominator 0? We find out negative 3, if I plug it here, what is negative 3 plus 3? That's 0. Because it's become 0, it all fails. Negative 3 is your extraneous solution, so I cross that out, and then 2 is my only one that works. You could try 2 here, it becomes 5, plug in 2 here, it becomes 5, plug in 2, you get negative 2. That solution works. Alright, so on squads, that concludes our lesson with solving rational expressions. You guys were able to do a basic, intermediate, advanced level. We're able to solve by factoring denominator, multiplying the LCD by every term, canceling things out, and then combining, and then foiling and whatever you have to do, and then solve for x, and then check for extraneous solutions. Those are all your steps. So hopefully this video has helped you. If it did, please subscribe to my channel, turn on your notifications, and let's get ready for some more videos.